Me 52 male just found out at least 4 of my 5 children 33 female 30 female 28 male 24 female 14 female are not mine. Wife 51 female won't say anything. Background: I met my wife when we were in high school and we married in college. We have 5 beautiful children together. Really, I consider them a total blessing regardless of what I am about to bring up, and up until a couple of weeks ago I thought that we had the perfect marriage. We were typical high school sweethearts. We go out together. We never fight. I feel like I've done everything a loving husband should do. I am saying this not to make myself out as the perfect husband. For example, my work has always meant I work long hours and maybe haven't always been there when she needed me. But I want to stress that I've never felt our marriage was in any trouble. And never in a million years would I ever have suspected my wife of being disloyal. She's always done everything she could to support me and take care of our children. Now, my eldest daughter recently had an ancestry test done, and the results of the ancestry test strongly suggested I was not her father. She confided this to me privately, showing me the results, and I could tell she was visibly upset by this. Of course, the first thing I did was reassure her that no matter what, she's my daughter and I'll always love her unconditionally. But secondly, the two of us decided to get an official paternity test since the ancestry tests are not completely reliable. It comes back and I am indeed not her biological father. This news really broke me. I am ashamed to say I broke down in tears in front of my daughter. The combination of finding out about my wife's infidelity and how upset I was making my daughter by how I was reacting. I really wish I had kept it in for her sake, but I didn't. Following this, I asked my other children, except my youngest, to come and see me. I wanted to know the extent of my wife's infidelity. If it was a one-off, I could maybe work past it, especially given how long ago it would be. However, I didn't want to tell my youngest as she is still in school, a teenager, and really I didn't think it was appropriate to tell her yet. We tell the other 3 what has happened. I reassure them that I love them unconditionally and that I'll always be their dad, but that I need to know how long this has been going on. God, I can't begin to explain how touching their reaction was. They didn't care I wasn't their biological father. They were just upset at how heartbroken I was. I feel like the only thing that has kept me going these last couple of weeks is their unwavering support. So we have paternity tests for each of the 3 done. Not only are none of them my biological children, together 4 of my children have 3 different fathers, which somehow made it worse. It's like, she wasn't just having an ongoing affair, she was having multiple. I can't explain how this make it worse, but it just does. So I confront my wife with this, expecting her to confess and beg for forgiveness. She doesn't confess. She doesn't even take it seriously. She says the tests must be flawed. All 4. How the hell am I supposed to take that seriously? I keep bringing it up and she keeps brushing it off, getting progressively more annoyed at me. When I bring it up, she will try and guilt trip me. We've been together since high school. Do you seriously not trust me? Etc. But how am I supposed to trust her in the face of such overwhelming evidence? Now that I have rambled and explained what has happened, I guess let me ask a few direct questions for advice. 1. How can I reassure my children this doesn't change anything between us? I feel like the way I have reacted, total breakdowns, has made them second guess this despite however many times I reassure them. 2. How do I handle my youngest daughter? I feel like our marriage is beyond saving, and I will need to tell my daughter something. I don't want her to know the truth until she's older, but I also don't want my wife lying and making me out to be the villain. 3. Is there any way at all, you think I could or should save my marriage? I've been with my wife my entire life. It's almost impossible to see a life without her. I know that the answer should be a clear-cut leave her, but we have 5 kids together. If there's anything that can be done to save our marriage, I want to consider it seriously. Too long didn't read. Found out at least 4 of my 5 kids are not mine. Wife refuses to confess her infidelity. Unsure of how to do what's best for my children and marriage. Edit. Thanks so much to everyone for all the support and advice. I have not replied to as many comments as I should have, but I've read each and every one and taken your advice to heart. I'll continue reading any comments or messages you send me. Again, I can't begin to thank you for all your support. If this is resolved, I might post an update, but if she continues to lie, then I don't think I'll bother, as there's not much more I can add. From the advice in this and the Our Parenting thread, I've decided 2. 1. Get second tests just in case some freak accident has occurred. 2. Confront my wife with all 4 of my older children present. 3. Tell my youngest of the situation. Ask her if she wants to have a paternity test. It will be entirely her decision. 4. I am 100% going to get some form of therapy. My mental state has really been deteriorating over the last couple of weeks, and I owe it to my kids to hold it together. 5. Depending on whether my wife tells the truth, and what her explanation is, if any, I have not ruled out some form of counseling, but at the moment I think divorce is inevitable unless she changes her attitude drastically. 6. Contact a lawyer and prepare for divorce, if it comes to that. Once again, I'd like to thank all of you for the time you took to express your support and share advice. Edit 2. I guess I should clarify some things that people have been asking. 1. How did the ancestry results suggest I wasn't her father? My family is entirely Irish, no relatives outside of Ireland other than my immediate family. And I even have the stereotypical red hair. My daughter's ancestry results showed nothing from the British Isles, Western Europe, Northern Europe. That's what set off alarm bells, but it's by no means conclusive. Hence the paternity tests. 2. Which 2 children share the same father? My 2 eldest daughters share the same father. 3. How did your wife conceive your children? Our eldest daughter was not planned. All the others were planned. Each time we conceived several months after we started trying. Our first 3 planned children were both our ideas, while she pressured me into having our youngest. She was in her late 30s and wanted one last child before it was too late. And eventually I agreed. She was conceived several months after we started trying. 2. 4. Are you infertile? I don't know. I've never had a fertility test done. But the fact that none of our planned children are mine makes me think that I might be. I will have a fertility test as soon as possible. Hi. I am really sorry to hear this. What a brutal and cold way to find something like that out. And for her to lie continuously is unbelievable. It's deplorable. I wanted to try to answer your questions. 1. It sounds like you handled this like a champ and spoke to your kids before and after about how much this didn't affect your relationship or love. Just keep that up. They will need you. You will need them. 2. Your youngest will have questions and it's up to you when she's ready to hear the truth. This one sucks, but you seem like an amazing dad, and if your wife decides to lie, you may have to take her shit for a while for your child's sake. Your other kids may defend you. The truth may come out. 3. It would be a no from me unless she immediately confesses entirely, and takes responsibility and apologizes, and agrees to therapy, both individual and couples. For me, I would need full access to her phones, her emails, everything. She's still lying to you right now with actual DNA proof in your hands. That's bullshit. Anything else? Just ask. I would leave. She had multiple affairs and multiple children with multiple men and can't even own it when caught. But I never want to be like that person who just says leave. It's a lot. There's a lot we don't know. This is your life. Thank you so much for your kind words and support. The consensus on my youngest seems to be that I should tell her the truth now. That waiting until she's older might make her feel betrayed for being kept in the dark. Do you have any thoughts on that? My top priority right now is her well-being. Everyone else is an adult and can handle whatever happens. But she is still young and I worry that it will seriously negatively affect her development. I have a 14-year-old daughter and believe me, they know when something is up. She will be extremely upset that she was the only one left out if you don't tell her. So sorry you are going through this, but so I have so much respect for you for never leaving those kids. You are their father no matter what. Thank you for the silver kind stranger. Second story. My wife 32 female has been having an affair. And I'm broken. My wife 32 female and I 30 male got married in September 2018 after being together for 3 years. Right before our honeymoon, we bought a house together in VA. And after we got back, pooled our remaining money and time to completely redo her old starter home in MD and sold it in early 2019. We both work full-time jobs in Virginia. I make pretty good money. She makes even better money. My wife, let's call her Katie, decided to pursue an MBA and started last fall. She had an educational trust that her parents started for her, and therefore didn't ask me for any financial assistance. However, because I saw how time-consuming the MBA was on top of her already large professional workload, I took it upon myself to take care of everything related to our still relatively new home, including dealing with contractors, managing all our bills, maintaining the house, taking care of our dog, purchasing, assembling furniture, yard work, cooking, cleaning, laundry, and hosting, entertaining her family that insisted on coming over at least 2 weekends every month. Lately, Katie had been unhappy with our relationship, complaining that I wasn't spending enough quality time with her and not making her feel wanted. I tried to argue several times that between her work and studies, and my work and home responsibilities, that there simply wasn't very much time to spend together in general. We would frequently not even get to eat dinner until 9 or 10 at night, and I would either need to bring her a meal to her home office, or we would quickly eat together, and she would return to schoolwork to study or percolate in group project session. She would argue back that the things I was doing around the house were simply my responsibility as a husband, and that while she appreciated it, it didn't count towards me trying to maintain or build our relationship. We'd also been arguing a lot about other things, and combined with the lack of free time, would be intimate maybe once a month. But after one particularly emotional and drunken conversation about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, I vowed that despite what I already thought was prioritizing her needs, that I would go even further. I began to take off work. I, unlike her, still had to go in during COVID, or go in late, leave early, stopped seeing friends, skipped workouts, and would even wait until she was occupied with something else to even take a shower. Also, I could spend as much available time as possible with her between her obligations. As a result, Things seemed to be slightly improving between us. And now we arrive at last Wednesday. As per usual, I was making dinner for us. We have a tablet in the kitchen that I primarily use for recipes. As I was finishing up, the tablet began pinging nonstop, and I checked out what was happening. As it turns out, the tablet is linked to her Google credentials, and I first saw an ongoing Hangouts conversation between Katie and a friend, discussing what to do about someone's wife who had come to our house that day while I was at work. Scrolling through the conversation history, I found more about Katie's lack of feelings for me, and the longing and dreaming to instead be with some guy, who we'll call Luke. Physically shaking at this point, I decided to venture away from Hangouts and open her Gmail, where I found several emails, going as far back as March, between her and Luke, calling each other babe, sweetheart, and my love. Unsure about what to do next, I first took screenshots of everything I could find, then stepped outside to call the only person with law experience that I knew, an executive at my company who I'd become friends with. He advised that I immediately confront her, but first call someone to come over to the house to act as a witness, in case things became physical, or if she might later try to claim they did. So I had a friend over in about 20 minutes. I confronted Katie, and she confessed to the relationship and admitted that they had been intimate several times over the past 4 months, both at hotels and in our home. Now completely distraught, I tried to maintain my composure, and asked her to leave. She stayed at a hotel for 2 nights, then despite my protest, came home on Friday, stating this was her house too. She insisted on talking when she returned, and not having a witness this time, I decided to record the entire conversation on my phone. She tried to reiterate that she had been unhappy, but despite that, had been reaching out to her friends and mother about suggestions and resources she could use to help our relationship, even though I had suggested counseling in the past. But she refused. She tried to tell me that she made a mistake, that she had already broken it off with Luke a week ago, that I was the only person she wanted to spend her life with, and the only reason she hadn't told me about it was because her friends had advised her not to. She also said that if we truly love each other, that divorce was a mistake, and that we should be able to get through anything. I replied that love is worthless without trust, and then said that if she insists on staying here, to please stay in the guest room, obviously free usage of her home office and the guest bathroom, but to please stay out of our bedroom bathroom unless telling me first. So now I'm here, sitting in my house alone with just my dog. Her and her aunt, uncle, cousins are currently at our neighbor's house for a barbecue. They don't know about what she did. I can't bear to go over there because I don't want to talk to or even look at Katie, much less pretend in front of a bunch of people that nothing happened. 90% of me wants to get a divorce, but despite her feelings, I was very happy with the life we were building. We had even been talking about being pregnant by this time next year. But no matter what I decide to do, I know I don't want to make that decision without getting more information about what I can do, what might end up happening if we proceed. And I definitely want to talk to a few VA lawyers to protect myself. We only have one joint account with less than $20,000 in it, and the only asset we share is our house. So that's it. I'm sorry for writing so much. If you've made it this far, thank you for reading, and I would really appreciate any and all insight, suggestions, or advice. I just feel completely destroyed, empty, and alone. Please help me. Edit. I am absolutely stunned and overwhelmed by the level of support you all have shown me. I truly can't believe that all of would take the time to offer your advice, kindness, and wisdom to an absolute stranger. I am doing my best to read every one of your replies, and from the bottom of my somewhat shattered heart, thank you. This has been an unbelievable light in the darkest time of my life. Third story. I, 34 male, conducted a paternity test behind my wife's back on our 12-year-old son. Typing this out in mobile. Apologies for grammar or formatting. A little backstory before I get to the meat. My wife and I met when I was 20. We had a drunk hookup the first night we met. We continued seeing each other after that night. A few weeks later she found out she was pregnant. We stayed together and I proposed a few months later. I had doubts about her pregnancy lining up with our timeline, but I never brought it up or discussed it. Not to mention I was in the military and deployed a few months later. My proposal weighed a lot on her carrying my child. I grew up in a home without a dad and never wanted that. Fast forward 12 years, we are still married. Though it has been extremely volatile and rocky, I've stayed together honestly because I could never part from my son. I can't let him grow up with an absent father. So I've made it work. Our marriage is dead outside of our child. I ran into an old friend who I knew around the time I met my wife. He asked if I was still with her and I said yes. He mentioned how it was crazy I dated her and then you stole her from me. I wasn't sure what he meant and asked him to elaborate. He said it's no big deal, but I was seeing her up until that weekend you met her. I dropped it, but inside my doubt and insecurities ran wild. I couldn't get it out of head. I broke down and bought a home DNA test kit and used it on my son, and without telling my wife. The results came back today. He is not my son. 0% chance I am his biological son. I'm destroyed. My whole world is upside down. I'm just on autopilot at the moment. I don't know how to act or feel. I'm just a zombie right now. One thing I know is no matter what, he is my son. I've been by his side the moment he was born and will absolutely never abandon him. Absolutely nothing will change that. What I haven't decided is how, if at all, I bring it up to my wife. I feel like my whole marriage was a lie. I can't help but wonder if she knew. How do I confront her? Regardless that I'm not in love with her, I still love her. This will crush her. This will absolutely devastate her. I don't know what to do. I plan on seeing a counselor therapist ASAP. So many emotions and thoughts flooding my mind. Just need some help to bring me back down. Edit. I appreciate all the support and words of advice. Both good, bad, and the assholes. I'm going to sit on this until I get my head right. Fourth story. 31 male husband cheated on 27 female me with his fit and skinny gym friend. I came home from work early. I am an OB nurse, so my hours are pretty unpredictable, and found female sneakers in the garage that weren't mine. At that point, I sort of already knew what I'd be walking into. My husband has recently become very fit and has been consistently going to the gym, during which he made a female friend who he even brought home for dinner last week. She's beautiful and thin and everything I am not, which instantly made me feel horrible. So I talked to him about it. He encouraged me to build my confidence and reassured me he loved me and would always be loyal to me. I walked into the laundry room from the garage and sort of tiptoed around the house before going upstairs. They were having tax in our bed, with a framed picture from our wedding above the nightstand next to it. I silently left the room and got back in my car with tears streaming down my face and drove to get food and just sat in my car crying since. It's now almost 1 a.m. Walked in on them at 7 p.m. and I've returned to the hospital. He called me asking why I wasn't home, and I told him my shift is extended, but in reality, I am laying in one of the on-call rooms bawling my eyes out as I type this. I feel so worthless and ugly and stupid. I don't even know how to proceed. On one hand, I want to divorce him and never see him again. But on the other hand, I am an ugly woman. It's not like I can do better. I just want to die. I feel so gross and the self-loathing is getting too much right now. Advice please. Edit. Thank you all for the kind comments and support. Please stop commenting. However, I think I've heard just about everything, including some horrible things about my weight. I don't care about internet points or whatever, and the notifications are getting crazy. Reading through these comments has been a nice way to keep myself sane these past few hours. I still have no idea what I am going to do, and I know everyone wants me to leave. But a marriage is more than can be illustrated with a couple of words on a website. He was a great husband, and I can't help but feel at fault for neglecting myself weight-wise. I don't know if I will stay, but that's all I really know right now. Edit. I didn't expect this to blow up as much as it did, and while I am incredibly grateful for all the nice and supportive comments, please stop messaging me about how I should stop eating or laugh at me for expecting a faithful husband while being overweight. It is incredibly upsetting, and I am already going through a lot. I feel I need to clarify, since everyone seems to care, that I had food after I found out. I had been working a shift from 7 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. during which I had been all over the place. I had lunch at 11 a.m. and nothing else until I left. I was starving and hurt and driving around with tears streaming down my face. Please stop harassing me about that. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.